universe is crazy and I don't know what to do. So I made a podcast for me and for you. Pizza sauce and diggly digs, everybody loves a digs. Japanese girls and 80s flicks, rock and roll like Stevie Nicks. Mafia humors, elder rules, telling you what's wrong with school. Bruno James and Dan Marino, talking shit on people we know. Hockey fights and cracking beers, living life without no fear. Oh, my brain, what's inside? I don't know what to write.
Like weird Japanese shit.
Turtles and Hot Pockets. If you don't like those, I don't want to be friends.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Matt Manny. My toilet's been running. I know it sounds like the start of a bad joke, but it has been. And it's one of them things where, you know, you give it a jiggle or you push up, or if you push up, then you do a pull down. But it's like no matter what I do, the thing runs. And then the girlfriend comes down while I'm in the middle of something important, Mortal Kombat 11. And she's like, hey, you left the toilet running. And it kills me because we got these dog gates up so the dog can't get upstairs. And I got to step over the thing, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But I'm constantly mangling my body because like I'll step over it and I'll do it real fast and I'll twist my ankle coming down the steps. It's right at the bottom of the step. It's just a whole nightmare. My whole body is destroyed. My whole body is destroyed because I got a spinal problem. I got the hunchback, whatever you call it. What's the bent spine? I don't even know what the hell my own disorders are called anymore. Scoliosis. I got the touch of the skull. I got scoliosis. I found out a number of years ago doing a visa health check in China. They do the x-ray. I talked about that before. It's absurd. They just shove you in this room with your ass out of a medical gown and they just shove you in front of this thing. It looks like something from like 1970 to 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃 in an Avengers movie. And they slam this blast door and just push you out of the room. There's some buzzing and whirring. And then, they hit you with some gamma rays. Anyway, it comes back on the paperwork. I'm just like, yeah, it's probably all fine. And they're like, signs of skull. I'm like, oh, that's what all that pain and suffering has been for a couple of years now. And why my one shoulder's up like this. So I'm all mangled. So anyway, coming up and down the steps isn't that fun, especially when you're in the middle of a fight for Earth's freedom from the shadow realm. I'm playing Mortal Kombat. Just let the toilet run. Is this what adult life is now like? I feel like parents and stuff used to be like, you'll see one day. It's like, nah, because my future adult life looks a lot like me being interrupted playing nonsensical video games to then go take care of the toilet. Yours was like, hey, you got to take the kids to practice and do this, and we got bills to pay. And I'm like, I'm squatting, playing video games. Enough with the toilet already. But either way, it's pretty amazing because you take the lid off of the toilet and like what the jingling, this sounds idiotic, but the jiggling wasn't working because there's a chain that goes down to that flap inside the toilet. I don't know if you've ever spent any time looking at a toilet, but it's modern plumbing is amazing. You know, you use it every day. You barely care. You don't care about plumbing until there's shit water coming all over your floor, basically, which is why plumbers can charge anything they want. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. But there's this cord and the chain hangs just low enough that it allows the water to go over top of that. Then the weight of the water keeps that plunger down. Now, if that chain is even like a millimeter too short, it leaves just enough gap where the water can escape under and it doesn't create the pressure necessary. It's amazing. Blows your mind. Every time you take a leak, think about that. You know, it's you could have been born at any time in Earth. There's people shitting in the streets. I mean, 1800s, America, New York was disgusting. There was no plumbing. There was just feces and filth in the street. They just threw the trash. The gutters were just disease ridden. I mean, it was horrendous. I don't know how they still spread. This is the beauty. The world was amazing because you could get away with whatever. They could perpetuate the lie that the U.S. was paved in gold because they didn't have an email, just one email. Hey, no gold, just lots of feces and yellow fever. No pun intended with the yellow fever, but there is a lot of pee in the streets. Nowadays, boom, nah, it's not that great. Maybe don't come. But still, you would think even with a letter, a couple of months, you got to think that the people, somebody was in charge of that mail getting over back to Europe, telling people to stop coming. And they were just like, nah, another letter about the streets of gold. Yeah, we'll keep that one. Piss in the streets, throw that one overboard. The mail didn't make it. What are you going to do? But it's amazing. You could have been born at any time. You're born in the time of modern plumbing. I'm grateful. Thanks, gratitude calendar. Thanks, what's that, Gary V? He's a good dude. He's a good lad. So I've been thinking a lot about looking at my creative work or the world in general through the lens of success and also the lens of society, or kind of this filter through social media or just your social world. Both of these, because I think they have a big impact on the types of creative projects and media that people are putting out right now, the types of creativity that you're seeing in the world, or lack thereof, really is the issue. So really, I think this is a personal problem for me as somebody who likes to make things, be it music, art, cooking, videos, really anything that I can imagine creating. I have an issue with it being filtered through this lens of success. And then I think in the world at large, I think this is a bigger problem. I'm sure if it's affecting me, or I think it's something that I'm engaged with, I do think this is something on a bigger scale. And what I mean is, when I go to do something, it used to be I'd sit down to paint. Maybe I have an idea, just I'm walking through the city, or I'm in Shanghai, or I'm in New York or whatever, and I see a car in a puddle and smoke's coming up the street. I have this inspiration of I want to capture this somehow, maybe in an oil painting, or it inspires a song. And I just have this drive to go do that. It's this unmistakable feeling when you're in that, it's not even the flow state. It's prior to that. It's like you have this urge. It's kind of from a different whole place. You know, it's not like, your stomach rumbles. You're hungry. It's this drive. You know, writers talk about it in terms of like, I didn't choose writing, it chose me. There's this desire to just get back to the work and get back to that place. Then you get in the flow state, obviously, as you're working. But usually I have something that inspires me. Now it feels like I'm coming to something to try to figure out a problem. Like I'm trying to create a solution to my life. And what I mean is I'm trying to gain success, or trying to create something that will achieve some end goal, as opposed to just creating something because I want to create it, or because I think it's cool, or I think it's beautiful, or I'm just interested. It seems time and time again, I catch myself being like, yeah, people will be into that. And it's like thinking too much about the outside world and their viewpoints, or what the real point of this creation is. I mean, really even with art is a good one, because NFTs are getting so big. There's people thinking like premeditatively, like this is going to sell, or this is going to work. And it's like, that's the kind of shit you hear from like Hollywood, which, okay, end of the day, it is a business. So scripts have to fit they have to be sellable. Okay. Even books are like that. But it's a problem if you're already coming to the work like that, being like, this is going to be a commercial success. There's such ugliness in that. And as somebody who likes to create things, it's sucking the joy really purely out of what you're doing. You should really want to be creating for the sake of creating, because it's such a beautiful thing. It's so much fun. It's just it's pure goodness. You know, if you think about that, you know, what separates us from the animal kingdom, whether you believe in some higher being or God or whatever the hell you want to call it, that idea though that we were created in the image of something higher, even if you don't believe that, there's a very clear difference between, an animal scurrying along the sand and somebody building a sandcastle and having some creative input to create that. We have the ability to manifest things from our mind. You can think them up, put them onto paper. And that's the only way to get something from here onto that paper, is our ability to create. So there's something going on there that shouldn't be tainted by these outside filters of success. And it just disturbs me that I'm losing some sort of space between my ability to know the difference between what I want to create, or am I just being influenced by the success? It doesn't mean they can't overlap. Very much so. There's a lot of times where somebody wants to create something and it's a commercial success, or whatever you want to call success. It's brings attention to the work, whatever you want to say. But it seems like it's a problem to me when I can't tell the difference between me wanting to create something because I purely just have that inspiration like a child. I just do it for the fuck of it. I just fuck off. I'm making a mess or whatever I'm doing, instead of premeditating, like, yeah, this will be a way that I can get out of work. Like there's this whole weird realm of like trying to avoid work or escape, whatever you want to call it, escape the 9 to 5, any of it. It's just so many people creating things, especially like you see YouTube, you're trying to like game an algorithm and Instagram, like all of it. And then I'm seeing it more with people who I never thought I would. You know, they're designing like NFT because they're like, this will fit this little market. It's a good fit. And it's like, do you even want to be creating what you're creating? Like, are you doing this because you're inspired to, or is it because you absolutely hate going to work and this is an out for you? And it's like, that's the problem. It's, you know, the whole idea, oh, you're a sellout, man. But it's not even a sell. It's like people just don't want to work. And it's hard to fight that allure of being like, hey, man, if people buy this stuff and they're into it and it gives me the freedom to then go make stuff, why not? And it's like, I don't have anything wrong with that. I'm not saying like, hey, man, you're a poser, you sell out. It's not that. It's that, is it affecting the work? And I think personally for me, I feel like I want to be doing something worthwhile and pushing myself even to create, not because I just don't like to think that I'm tailoring things. And this leads me to the next lens or filter, whatever you want to call them, is this filter of like, you see it in social media, but it's all of it, PC culture, just this filtering of my thoughts and ideas that I can definitely tell. There's even like a millisecond where I'm going to say something and I pause for a second and I just change it. Like I notice it in my own brain. Maybe it's not even actual physical pause. There is no pause, but I can feel that there's a little fork in the road and I go this way when I really wanted to go this way. And, you know, there's a number of reasons. Maybe I'm getting older and I'm more conscious of these things and you could say wiser, but I really don't think so, because honestly, this type of behavior makes me like myself less. I think which is awful. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, all I want to do is like myself. You can't really like anyone or love anyone if you don't like and love yourself. So I really don't give a shit what other people think or what they want to think. But unfortunately, we live now in this world, or maybe it's just because of my experiences, you know, different interactions with people or things I've been told or whatever you want to call it. Or stories. That's another whole point, is like things you hear about. Oh, they didn't get hired or they get fired because of some shit. It's like, look, there's an amount of responsibility of being like, oh man, that guy's an idiot. Why did you post that? But there's also an amount of responsibility about creative responsibility that you have to be honest and true to your work. That doesn't mean just go out on a limb screaming awful things. But I mean, if it's coming from a true place, and it's what you mean and it's what you feel, like what kind of poetry are people going to expect is going to be created when everything's got to be doctored? What kind of art, kind of film? Like we're not going to get anything good. This shouldn't be a surprise that so much stuff sucks and that it's just revamp after revamp of 80s movies or whatever, just old things that are just getting revamped because nobody wants to take a risk. But that's what art is. You need to be able to willingly take a risk. And if you look throughout time, it's not like this is unique. Artists, people always had to do this. The thing is, it used to be a lot more than just outside of the art community. This was a huge thing with like mathematicians. Like mathematicians weren't like these scientists like we see them now. These people were kind of like underground rebels. They had to, a lot of times, they were just doing it out of pure love and curiosity and the pure joy and interest of working with numbers and mathematics and the idea that we could understand our universe and reality through this language of math. They would have to go like underground to study this stuff because maybe it challenged the leaders at the time or the religious status quo or all these things that were entrenched, and this challenged that. So a lot of these guys had to do their work in secrecy, or they went to prison for it, or they were murdered, or a million things. You know what I mean? They were ostracized from their communities. So this stuff used to exist at very high levels of basically why we even have a lot of what we have right now is based on these mathematics. And these people were vilified. And so today we have to make a conscious choice of, are you going to be willing to put yourself out there and get, potential harm, whether it's monetary. I mean, honestly, these days it could be even physical. It's lunacy. It's absolute chaos. And it's depressing though, because we're going to get garbage. It's what's happening. You're just getting garbage put out, and then people are, I don't understand. It's like this. We can't let this happen. Not just because they're going to make some shitty movies. There was always shitty movies. But because we're losing, really, this is like the main, to even describe it, like we're really like losing our humanity. I mean, this is what good comedy is, good art, just art in general. This is what it does. We need to be allowed to have this freedom, and to say we're losing our freedom, you can lose it, or you can't smoke inside anymore. Okay, there's social pacts that we can make with each other. They go, this is the best thing for society. Well, we can't let basically people who are just dicking off on the internet, trashing people, creating this fear. It's like fear mongering that is going to stunt creativity to such an extent that it's going to do irreparable harm to society at large. Because if you look at any period of time that changed things for what we could conceive as a better future, it was periods of time that were open to creativity, the Renaissance or the 60s or whatever. There was change impacted by an openness to express oneself, and we're diminishing that. An example I would say that I was looking at is this Lindsay Ellis. She was like the more I look at her, it's like she had like a novel out and a second book coming out. It was like amazing that she built this career. I think she was mostly just like a film guru. I don't know what you want to call it, like a film buff. She just reviewed films and stuff. And she made this completely innocuous comment about the Disney movie Raya. And she just compared it to Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's literally all she said, was this movie's basically like that movie. I mean, it couldn't be more innocuous. She could have said a million hilarious things that had come off the top of my head. She could have been like, this movie's a pile of regurgitated puke that resembles a movie that was already a hunk of dog shit. I mean, she could have said a million awful, awful things and not had a single piece of backlash, but somehow her life got ruined, which, I don't know this person. I'm sure maybe she's still got a good life. I don't know what she's going to do now. Maybe she could be a consultant for not fucking up on the internet. I don't know. But you got to think that this is going to have ramifications or reverberations. It's going to have shockwaves that we aren't going to see, but there's going to be a kid out there who could have made something that helped influence his peers or made something creative. And instead, he's going to second guess himself and think again and not make that video because he's fearful of what kind of kickback he's going to get. And that's awful. I mean, this is the witch hunt. It's just madness. And, I don't want to keep going on and on about this, but it's something that, I find just extremely disturbing. I think we need to discuss more. People need to be kind of made aware of it, but beyond being aware of it, we got to figure out some kind of way to get around this. And you see, there are people talking about it, the South Parks of the world, the bigger podcasts, Rogan or Tim Dillon, just people who don't really have to operate. I'm sure like Chappelle, people who don't have to operate within this world of getting reprimanded or the cancel culture, more or less, are free to express themselves and say what they want and bring this stuff to people's attention. But I've just been finding it so damn disturbing that I personally am losing track of what's me making a conscious decision about what I want to create and what's subconsciously being put through these lenses of fear of posting things on social media that I'm not going to get hired, or what are people going to think? And this lens of me trying to just gain some sort of success. Like it really feels like there's some kind of like succubus creature sucking the creativity. I mean, I don't know how to fight it. I guess that's why I'm talking. More than just, we got to be aware of it. Like awareness don't really do shit. I mean, maybe it does. I don't think so. I'm trying to find a solution. I don't really know. Drugs and alcohol, maybe, like really, truly, like me just sitting down and slamming some beers maybe just makes me want to do creative shit and not worry about what it is. Like just take out the paints and just go. Don't put any conscious thought into it. That's one way I've, in the past, I've worked on kind of getting over, I guess you want to call it like writer's block, but it's really not writer's block. It's just the reasoning of why I'm making decisions is disturbing to me. So, I mean, truly, honestly, there's reasons people probably drink and smoke and do drugs and all that shit when you're shit. And again, it come back to mathematicians. There was a dude at college who used to come in and slam beers and then do these problems on napkins. He was like some math professor. There's reasons it unhinges just these doorways that we slam on our mind subconsciously, consciously, all this stuff. And, I just think we really need to, shake this shit off somehow. Hopefully we find some kind of end to this crap because it's disturbing. And I'm kind of sick of garbage. And I think a lot of the bitching out there about garbage being produced is bitching from the people who are also causing it, because it just completely meaningless messages get somehow vilified. It's crazy. And I don't know where this goes. It's nuts. Imagine, because like this is people's real lives, you know what I mean? Especially like if you post some shit that you're into and then you like don't get hired, you get fired because people, what is that? You're ruining someone's life. Like they have kids, they got bills. Like this is a real way to make a living now, and people are going out of their way. And there's no ramifications to those people, hopping on board the Slayer train, just chopping these people down. They see nothing. They go take it. They're doing it on the toilet probably. Then they go brush their teeth, take a shower, and go off into the day to eat some garbage and don't think two things of it. It's very odd. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents. That's enough of this shit. I'll see you next time. Here's the thing.
Yeah, man, come on. Yeah.
Everyone thinks not doing shit's easy, but it's not.
I'm gonna get weird and go paint some stuff.
That's enough of this bullshit for one day.
Sometimes you just gotta slam them fuckers. Oh, sure.